Is Max Payne a straight-laced noir yarn, or a delirious bullet ballet fever dream with a painkiller addiction? Trick question. Like a good detective novel, the answer keeps lighting cigarettes in shadowy corners and refusing to testify. Dropped onto PC hard drives on July 23, 2001, Remedy Entertainment's debut feels at once traditional, hard-boiled narration, grieving cop, endless snowfall, and totally bananas thanks to a player-controlled slow-motion mechanic that treats Newtonian physics like polite suggestions. Critics still spar over its status. Some declare it a watershed moment that made bullet time a household phrase. Others wave it away as a one-trick Matrix remix drenched in trenchcoat cliches. Is it fundamental or dispensable, underrated, or overrated? I've replayed the thing more times than Max has gulped opioid tablets, and my conclusion oscillates faster than his shoot-dodge arc. Max Payne is the rare game that's simultaneously a genre museum piece and a perpetual adrenaline shot, a title you can roast for its dated textures, yet can't ignore when charting how modern shooters learn to dance. Historical context. To appreciate the impact, we need to remount our flux capacitors to a pre-Steam, pre-Xbox Live epic, when your average PC tower sounded like a vacuum cleaner, and online patch downloads came on magazine cover discs. Remedy, a small Finnish studio only half-jokingly powered by coffee, had spent the late 90s building Max FX, a proprietary engine spliced together so the team could choreograph Hong Kong meets Chandler gunplay without licensing somebody else's tech. They showed a rough pistol-whipping demo at GDC 1998. 3D Realms offered production handholding, and Gathering of Developers God Games signed on as publisher. God Games, bless its rebel indie heart, would shudder just weeks after release, turning Max Payne into the label's accidental swan song and proof that sometimes last gasps sound like Beretta reports in echoing subway tunnels. Cinematic timing couldn't have been better. 2 years earlier, The Matrix had knocked multiplex audiences sideways with trench-coated kung fu in time warp photography. Bullet dodging was suddenly cultural currency. Writers predicted any game chasing that buzz would look derivative, yet Remedy zigzagged by handing slow motion to the player, not the scripted camera. PC gamers in 2001 were used to Quake 3's rocket jumps and Deus Ex's conspiratorial reading simulator. Here came a third-person shooter whose protagonist narrated every bullet hole like a dime store philosopher stuck in a snow globe. Magazines swooned. I discovered the preview in a coin-op arcade stinking of solder and spilled slush puppy, where a single screenshot, a leather-jacketed cop pirouetting through a hail of spent casings, burned into my teenage retinas. Could a game truly let you orchestrate your own John Woo minus the doves firefights? The answer arrived 3 summers later, wrapped in bitter cold New York ambiance and enough melodrama to fill 10 Raymond Chandler first drafts. Important footnote, Remedy's lead writer, Sam Lake, born Sammy Jarvi because Finland, decided the studio couldn't afford professional face capture, so he volunteered his own mug for the titular detective. The result, a freeze-frame grimace that looks like someone just swapped his espresso shot for battery acid. That expression, equal parts constipation and cosmic despair, became iconic box art. Reviewers couldn't decide if it was brilliant autorism or a late-night dare gone viral, but the absurdity stuck. And as you'll see, I use Sam's scowl as my narrative lint roller throughout this dissection. Mechanics. Boot up the game, and you're met with the most fatalistic opener since Hamlet. They were all dead. The final gunshot was an exclamation mark. The line overlays a static comic panel dripping with noir gloom. You haven't even pressed a key and already the script is chain-smoking Lucky Strikes. Then the screen fades to a rooftop at midnight, snowflakes swirling like rebellious pixels. Remedy chose third person over the era's dominant first-person viewpoint because they wanted you to see Max corkscrew through the air. That visual grammar matters. A first-person bullet time would have been technically easier, but aesthetically neutered. By keeping the camera behind Payne's leather jacket, Remedy let every slow-mo, swan dive scream poster frame dramaturgy. Shoot dodge, the move we all tried to replicate on living room couches to the horror of lamp manufacturers, is simple. Tap a direction plus the right mouse button and max vault sideways, pistols blazing, while the world throttles down to syrup. A bullet time meter lines the bottom left edge of the HUD, glowing amber like a last orders bar sign. It drains rapidly, refilling only when max downs enemies, turning violence into literal time currency. Wasted on one thug and you'll somersault straight into normal speed high-speed buckshot, chain kills, and you become a snowy city superhero, weaving lead filigree across warehouse floors. Critically, Remedy calibrated the reticle so your aiming slows less than enemy animation, spiking accuracy during the slow-mo window. This subtle edge converts every firefight into a mini rhythm game about choosing when to crash the temporal brakes. Weaponry sells the fantasy in Dolby X-ray detail. You start modest, single Beretta, before dual wielding because Max shops firearms like the rest of us double fist caffeinated beverages. Pump action shotguns thunder like subway trains. Dual Ingram Mac tents shred drywall into confetti. The star for exhibitionists is the sniper rifle. Pull the trigger and the camera hitches to your bullet, whistling through static snow until it kisses a mobster's forehead in close-up glory. A mechanic that predates Sniper Elite's X-ray kill cams by a decade. Every fatal shot kicks ragdolls baked directly into Max FX. No Havoc yet. Havoc's debut in the series would wait until 2003's sequel. Corpses whip over balcony railings, occasionally pirouetting so comically that the game threatens to switch genres from noir to slapstick. Health management embraces thematic irony. Scattered around apartments, subway bathrooms, and mob hideouts are chunky bottles of painkillers. Remedy's wry nod to noir addiction tropes and a mechanical necessity in a pre-regenerating health era. Max dry gulps them with the determination of an author racing deadline, muttering nihilistic one-liners. The pills would hold the pain back for a while. Because each bottle restores only partial health, you plan firefights around pharmacy locations like a doomsday prepper stocks canned beans. Level design slides elegantly from claustrophobic to carnival. Early on, the Roscoe Street subway station channels the French Connection, tiled corridors, flickering fluorescents, hostage commuters. The Ragnarok nightclub later dials the insanity knob to 12, satanic murals, Norse runes, and a stage rig wired to explode pyrotechnics. Handy when you want to roast snipers on mezzanines. The final act shoves you into Aesir Plaza, a corporate monolith whose glassbox architecture functions as a vertical kill cam. Shards tinkle, snow seeps through broken windows, helicopter rotor wash sends paper files whirling across reception floors. In between, the notorious dream sequences plunge you into Valkyr-induced hallucinations. Floating corridors made of red neon blood trails that force you to balance on impossibly thin pathways, while an infant's cry echoes like a corrupted lullaby. Yes, they're mechanically crude platforming detours, but they splash psychological varnish on what could otherwise be a linear mob hunt. AI plays its part with 2001 gusto. Hitmen flank, vault over cubicles, knock over tables into impromptu barricades, though sometimes pathfinding glitches make them levitate atop pianos like ghostly buskers. I confess to once witnessing an enemy sprint headfirst into a closed glass door, rebound, and continue firing in a direction perpendicular to physics. Did it break immersion? Not really. I chalked it up to too much Valkyr inhalation. Noir excuses everything. Audio ties the symphony together. Composer Kurtzi Hataka devised a mournful violin motif that recurs whenever the screen fades to graphic novel panels. Voice actor James McCaffrey sells Payne's monologues in gravel tones deep enough to sand a hardwood floor. Environmental Radio's Spout Address Unknown, a meta soap opera about amnesiac detectives. Televisions play Lord of the Chimney Sweep, a grotesque cartoon. Fridge magnets rearrange themselves into Nietzsche-light aphorisms. Remedy basically built a funhouse of self-referential Easter eggs to reward nosy Parkers. My personal rabbit hole, discovering a hidden poster for Dick Justice, a blaxploitation pastiche that would foreshadow Max Payne 2's tongue-in-cheek introspection. Legacy, and influence. Upon release, Max Payne scooped a PC Metacritic score of 89, nabbed the 2001 BAFTA for Best PC Game, and, despite no multiplayer, shipped roughly 4 million copies worldwide, million units over its lifespan, a stat later confirmed by Remedy once Take-Two's accountants had finished counting snowy corpses. The first two games together would sail past 7 million sales, an impressive haul for titles that revolve around pill-popping ex-cops who narrate their own therapy sessions. More enduring than unit tallies is conceptual fallout. After Max Payne, bullet time became universal shorthand for player-triggered slow motion. FEAR grafted it onto Paranormal Commando missions. Stranglehold literally let Chow Yun-Fat surf on T-carts mid-shootout. Rocksteady's Arkham series translated temporal drag into counterflow fistfights, while Rockstar's own Deadeye in Red Dead Redemption offered 6-shooter fanfire in sepia slow-mo. If a modern game lets you bend time to to line up cinematic headshots. Odds are the design doc has Payne DNA spattered across page 1. Ownership shifts tellingly chronicle the IP's perceived value. Rockstar Games handled the 2001 console ports, fell in love with Payne's noir chic, and outright purchased the property from Remedy and 3D Realms in 2002. Remedy moved on, but never truly let go, swirling motifs of corrupted Americana and unreliable narrators into Alan Wake, Flashlight Time, Quantum Break, Physics Time, and Control, bureaucratic mind explode time. In 2022, the studio announced it would remake the first 2 Paynes in partnership with Rockstar, essentially agreeing to remix its own mixtape decades later, a testament to how dearly fans still cradle those snowy rooftops. Culturally, Payne seeped outside gaming. A 2008 film adaptation starring Mark Wahlberg missed the bullet time opportunity so completely that theatergoers asked for refunds in slow motion. Modders, unbothered, kept the original alive. Kung Fu Edition replaced Berettas with Bruce Lee roundhouse kicks. MPO turned every corridor into a Matrix lobby. One ambitious fan campaign stitched new voiceovers into original comic panels, effectively spawning a freeware sequel. Speedrunners, meanwhile, discovered that bunny hopping downsloped stairs at precise intervals lets Max outrun his own bullet casings, rendering the painkiller bar almost moot. A gorgeous example of systems reading gone punk. Why isn't Max Payne crowned on every GOAT list? Partially time's relentless pixel erosion. Textures that once looked photoreal now resemble melted wax. Sam Lake's iconic scowl, compressed into low-res face mapping, can morph into a Dali painting if you pump the FOV. Aim assist designs matured. Regenerating health systems made pill hunting feel archaic. By 2004, Half-Life 2 had set a new bar for interactive narrative. By 2007, Call of Duty 4 had strapped cinematics to roller coaster rails. Payne's static graphic novel slides looked quaint next to seamless mocap cutscenes. Yet none of that dilutes its influence. Whenever a modern shooter toggles cinematic slow motion, that design lineage begins on a snow-slicked New York roof with a detective whispering metaphors about the city chewing him into bite-sized tragedies. Contemporary devs echo Payne's environmental storytelling, Last of Us graffiti sermons, BioShock audio logs, when they place diegetic TV shows and self-parody inside violent worlds. And let's not forget Sam Lake's grin, now cameoing in Alan Wake 2 under the alias Alex Casey, proof that Remedy refuses to bury its most famous grimace. Closing paragraph plus score. Replaying Max Payne in 2025 is like cracking an old snow globe, only to discover the flakes slowly orbit your living room furniture. Sure, the resolution maxes out at fuzzy VHS, and pathfinding crooks sometimes resemble caffeinated Roombas, but the game's heartbeat, time manipulation married to pulp novel poetics, still thunders. Every shoot dodge remains a micro-power fantasy. Every violin sting under a graphic novel panel still prickles hairs on nostalgia receptors. Every painkiller bottle becomes a metronome you drum to survive flanking mobsters, for concocting a mechanic that reshaped shooter grammar, and for wrapping that mechanic in a self-aware noir shell stuffed with dream corridors and fridge magnet philosophy. I salute the Finns who built Max FX and caffeinated midnight clinics. Final verdict, 9.0 out of 10. Now pass me the painkillers. I need to somersault back into the snowstorm one more time.